3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, days, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. I hope you're all having a great night, morning, afternoon, whenever you're checking this out. I've got a review here for the latest Olivia Wilde offering in Don't Worry, Darling, which of course stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde, and Chris Pine. Those are the main four. So, full disclosure here, I'm gonna stay away from spoilers for the most part. If I do get anything super spoilery, I will give you a warning. Okay, let's just kind of get in this. So, I'm not gonna go over the whole drama coming out about the film. You can read about that on your own time. I'm just here to talk about the film. But what I will say about the whole drama aspect is that it definitely feels like the drama is way more interesting, for some people than what the film was going to end up being. So I was actually really curious to actually see this movie because if you follow me on Letterboxd, it was in my top 10 most anticipated films of this year. I saw the trailer. I went, okay, this looks weird. This looks psychedelic. I think Olivia Wilde, of course, coming off of Booksmart, which was one of my favorite films of, when that came out, 2019, I want to say. I was really curious to see what Olivia Wilde was going to do with this movie because let's call it what it is. 2019, yeah. Oh, wow, I'm proud of myself. But I was really curious what Olivia Wilde would do with something like this because going from a coming-of-age teenage comedy to a psychological horror film like this, that's quite a jump in genres. But I was curious. I was curious to see what Olivia Wilde will do with this, and this is written by Katie Silberman, who went ahead and wrote Booksmart as well. She also wrote that Rebel Wilson film that I'm completely blanking on. Oh, Isn't It Romantic? That's right. And so I was kind of like, okay, let's see what this could be. And so let me go ahead and start with kind of the very basic non-spoilery plot. So Florence Pugh, who plays Alice, and Harry Styles, who plays Jack, they are together, they are married, they are living in this community called Victory, which is this experimental company town where all the men who live there with their spouses, work for the top secret Victory Project, is what it's called. It's very much this 1950s aesthetic, this 1950s vibe, the clothes are very vintage, women sit out by the pool while their husbands are gone and all that jazz. And so basically when something happens, and I'll leave it at that, when this incident occurs, Alice starts to go ahead and question everything that's entirely around her in the town itself. And secrets come to light, yada, yada, yada. So, okay, let me get into what I liked first. I think Olivia Wilde does a really good job at points with the imagery as far as how things are shot. The 1950s does feel very real in the way it's shot. It's very charming. It's very, and I mean this is a compliment, it's got kind of almost like that Katy Perry kind of vibe to it, kind of that pinup sort of vibe. I think it actually works really well in pockets. And the best thing about this movie, not surprising, Florence Pugh. She's the shit. And when I talk about Florence Pugh, obviously, Black Widow I have to point out, but I remember seeing her in Fighting With My Family and, not the documentary, but the movie based on the life of former WWE wrestler Paige, who now goes by Saraya, who just debuted for AEW, go figure. Congratulations, by the way, fucking love her. But seeing her in that, I remember going, wow, she's taking bumps. She has a very natural charisma about her that I just really found incredibly charming. And Fighting for My Family, that's 2019. That was the first time I remember seeing her. I haven't seen Midsummer because I hate being scared. Shut up, I know. But I remember seeing her also. I actually saw her in King Lear, and she's actually really great in that too. Not surprising. But I remember being really impressed with her in Fighting With My Family. And then she does Little Women. in 2019, which she's great in as well. And then of course, she does Black Widow. She's great in that. And I was really happy for her. I was like, okay, it's really cool to see this young woman on the come up and actually starting to go ahead and, define her brand. And she's really taking a lot of different types of roles. I'm just like, hell yeah, girl, go ahead. And the responsibility that Florence Pugh has to this movie is that she has to go ahead and not only switch between being this incredible suburban housewife and being like fun and bubbly and charming and charismatic, but she has to be able to flip between feeling all those things and then being able to go ahead and amplify and convey the horror and the terror and the frustration and the anger and the angst that she feels at multiple points in these scenes. So, or in this film, pardon me. But she's able to flip those emotions on a fucking dime, and it's horribly impressive in the way that she does it. And I have to give her a lot of credit for being able to do that so effortlessly. And it's horribly impressive given the incredible range that she does have to show here. Olivia Wilde in this movie, she plays Mary. What I will say about her character without getting spoilery, because again, I'm trying very hard to dance around spoilers for this. Mary comes across very much like Olivia Wilde has come across in this press tour. She at points comes across very tone deaf and very hypocritical at points, and especially for where her character ends up and what we find out about her. I was really sitting there going, wow, where the fuck do you get off? It was one of those things where I just went, I don't love the way she's portraying this character and what this character ends up being and doing. I just went, yeah, I kind of don't like that at all. Chris Pine plays Frank, who is the figurehead of the Victory Project. He's this incredibly suave, charming, sophisticated, charismatic boss. If you are a Dexter fan, if you remember season 5 of Dexter with Jordan, I think it was Jordan Chase, played by Johnny Lee Miller, the whole, take it, playing that evangelist. Chris Pine has those vibes, and there is this incredible charm to Frank, but there's also this undercurrent of just villainous nature, and it's really fascinating to see Pine play in that sandbox, because we always see Pine, being charming or being kind of gruff, something like oh my gosh, like Hell or High Water. Like he does, I think Chris Pine's actually a much better actor than we really do give him credit for. Because yeah, I mentioned Hell or High Water, of course. As Captain Kirk, I think he's badass. But even something like In a Wrinkle of Time or Z for Zachariah, Horrible Bosses 2. He's the best thing about that fucking movie. I really like Chris Pine, and I really like him a lot in here. I think he does an excellent job. And one of the biggest shames of the movie is that we don't get a ton of Chris Pine. There is this one scene at a dinner table between him and Florence Pugh's Alice that I went, oh yeah, this is the stuff. And I'll be, without spoiling, that scene in particular is the best scene in the film by a country mile. Like, it's not even close. And I love the way that scene goes down and the way that Frank and Alice interact with each other. Okay, I've given it some positives. Now I gotta get into the bad stuff. I'm gonna be real, y'all. I'm so torn on this movie from one perspective, because for the first 2/3, I'd say it's very, it's very 50s. It's very, do the twists and all that shit. The guys are being very, very bro-y and, celebrating their fine ass wives and, just, enjoying just working for the man and doing all this shit. Kiki Lane is in here as Margaret, and I don't think, I will give this one spoiler. So it's a mild one about her. Actually, it's not really mild, but it happens within like 15 minutes. So it's not really a huge spoiler. So Kiki Lane's Margaret dies, in the movie. And I'm just gonna be real, y'all. It's okay. Considering she's a person of color and this takes place in the 1950s, the way she's handled, I just went, that's really unrealistic, and it's actually taking me out of the movie. And for where the film ends up, it's even more for me of a eye roll, give me a fucking break moment. And the movie just kind of goes, yeah, shut up, don't think about it. And I think the more you do think about this film, the more the film breaks down, because the first 2/3 I really think are intriguing as far as the mystery it sets up. But then the last third, where you start to get those answers, I really felt like the more answers I was getting, the more the film started to fall apart for me. And even when you take the half step back and think about what the film was trying to say and some of the themes, I just went, wow, I think you can go fuck yourself thinking about like having the gall to say some of the things that you're saying here, especially when it comes to how women treat other women. I just went, that's a fucking gross conclusion to come to. And the movie just kind of doesn't care. And the last third for me, I was, shout out to my friend Bradley, aka Canada. I just spent a couple hours just Zoom calling on a Zoom call with him, and I was talking to him about this movie. And my biggest conflict with this movie is that, do I think the first 2/3 are interesting? Yeah, I do think the first 2/3 are interesting, but at the same time, this incredible supporting cast, made up of Nick Kroll, Olivia Wilde, as I mentioned, Kiki Lane, Jim McCann, they're all really relegated to not even background players, but more like pawns. It really is more about Florence Pugh than anyone else. But the problem is, with the supporting cast you have, you need to develop them a little bit, especially for the twists and the themes to hit in the way that they're supposed to. And the problem is, the film doesn't do that at all. It really is more style over substance. It's very Tenet-ish in that way. And I just kind of was sitting there going, damn, I really wish I gave a damn about anyone outside of Alice. And I understand some people would go, well, she's the main character. But for some of the moments that certain characters have later on in the film, we need to know a little bit about them outside of the fact that their husbands work for the Victory Project. And that's really all we know about anyone in this movie outside of Alice, which really handicaps the film later on, especially when it gets into the whole reveal. And I just went, damn it, that's so frustrating. And the more I think about it, the more it actually does piss me off. It comes across very bad M. Night-ish in that way. And it felt like when this script was written, it definitely felt like the ending was set in stone, no wiggle room for it. We have to end up here making this point. And I really feel like even at points where the script could have gone a different direction, naturally, just writing it and cutting things and rewriting and cutting, I think Olivia Wilde and Katie Silberman were like, nope, we need to land here no matter what. I don't think they gave themselves time to improv or room to improv or to potentially deviate from a theme or two to maybe enhance the other ones. And I really believe that hinders the film significantly in the third act. And the shortcomings of the script are made very apparent in that last 30 minutes, to a point where I felt that even at barely over 2 hours, it's 2 hours and 3 minutes, I really did feel the length of this. I was really starting to get really bored, honestly, in the last third. And that really sucks because visually, as I mentioned, I think this is well directed. I think there are some shots of more horror elements that are kind of scary. But when you find out what's going on and what this is all about, it is kind of a really sort of moment. And I just went, wow, that sucks. And I'm really sad that it's just about this. Also, Nope came out a couple months ago, and Nope is still something that I've watched it a couple times now, but Nope is still something that I find myself going, oh man, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't notice that on the first watch. And it's really quite frustrating when I think about this, and I go, I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again. Even the Florence Pugh stuff, as great as Pugh is, as great as Chris Pine is, I know that someone will go on YouTube and make a compilation of all their best scenes and go, yep, here you go. And that'll save me watching this over 2 hours. A couple other things I just want to point out. There is a monologue that Chris Pine's Frank gives, where he's talking to Nick Kroll's Bill, and the line that he drops that I thought was so haunting was, what is the enemy of progress? And Bill goes, chaos. He's like, that's right. And they have this whole monologue that Frank gives to everyone in the neighborhood that I just thought was so incredibly well done. And there are these points where Pine gets to channel that darkness, and it just works so well. I dug it. I really dug the point where he was on screen. He got to go ahead and really show out. But that brings me to Harry Styles, and I just gotta be real, y'all. So I saw this tonight. I saw it about, let's see, it's almost 2 a.m, so I was seeing this about 7 hours, not 7 hours, like five hours ago. And there's this point where Harry Styles has to break down and like cry and be angry. And I'm in a theater filled with mostly women in their early to mid 20s, I would say. And the theater straight up laughed at him. And here's the thing, y'all. I think Harry Styles seems like a nice guy. Like, I don't have any ill will towards the guy. I know he's in One Direction, so the fuck what? I mean, who cares? But I remember watching Dunkirk and being like, yeah, I don't think Harry Styles is a good actor. And Christopher Nolan casting him in the main role of Dunkirk, I was flabbergasted by. I went, why is he getting this? And that was 2017, so that's 5 years since he's been in a movie. And I just kind of was like, well, all right, that's 5 years to take acting classes, hone your craft. And the rumors about him and Olivia Wilde, I mean, they're out there. And I just kind of go, all right, like, you remember in Temple of Doom, where Spielberg of course directs that, and what's her name? Kate Capshaw, I think is what it is. Where she, it is Kate. I think it is Kate Capshaw. Where she's the love interest in that movie, and the chemistry between her and Ford is just fucking non-existent. That's how I felt most of the time with Harry Styles and Florence Pugh in this movie. Like, it just felt like she was out to go ahead and prove her worth and go ahead and continue to elevate her stock. And Harry Styles, God bless him, he just does not have the range that Florence Pugh does. I mean, obviously he shouldn't. But at the same time, when you're doing a movie like this where you're supposed to convey emotions to the audience, but then you have to have this undercurrent of what's to come, Florence Pugh's nailing that in every scene she's really in, and Styles just doesn't have that gear yet. And look, if Olivia Wilde was, she's fucking Harry Styles, like, I mean, whatever. But honestly, when it starts to bleed into your work and the work isn't good, yeah, I need to speak on that. And Harry Styles is not good in this. Again, no ill will towards the guy, but he's just not there yet. And he's getting dragged on Twitter. I mean, he's got millions of dollars, he'll be fine. But I do feel a little bad for the guy, because I'm sure, like, he actually gave a shit. I'm sure he actually wanted to do well. He doesn't seem too cool for school, but he's not that dude for this role. And I know that Shia LaBeouf and Olivia Wilde have had their whole rivalry and all that. I know Shia apparently is a piece of shit. I know he's not the most stable person mentally. Shia LaBeouf could nail this role. And it's one of those things where you kind of go, what could this movie have been if you have Alice and Jack played by Florence Pugh and Shia LaBeouf? Because yeah, I mean, the issues with the third act would still be there, but you would have better performances that could help spackle over the shortcomings of the script. And when you only have one powerhouse performance in Florence Pugh and then an underlying one in Chris Pine, because he's not in the film that much, and a supporting cast that's not really developed or supported by the script, it just kind of makes for a hollow film. And look, y'all, I feel bad to the extent that I've been sitting here for a couple hours thinking about reviewing this and really not knowing what to say, because there are things about it I like, but that third act is fucking, I don't even want to say abysmal, but honestly, it's kind of right there. It just falls apart, and it undoes so much of the goodwill that I had in the first, 2/3 of it. I mean, I think the issues do start to creep up in the second act, but by that third act, the movie, it's like a neon sign is, appearing above it. So I'm really frustrated with this movie because I wanted to love this, y'all. I cannot stress that enough. I wanted to love this. I wanted this to be on the same level of something like Last Night in Soho. I wanted to come out telling my female friends, oh my fucking God, you need to go see this shit. You need to go see this shit. And unfortunately, this is something that I go, I don't know if I'll ever watch this again. Actually, I can pretty much guarantee you I won't watch this again. Getting my final thoughts, I'm just I'm just sad, honestly, y'all. I really wanted this to be not just good, but I wanted this to be great. And, I hope Olivia Wilde, I feel like she's getting the smoke right now. I know I always say Rotten Tomatoes is not gospel, but it's 35% critic score, 146 reviews, 86% audience score, which I find fascinating. And I'm just going to tell you, like, there will be those people, and I hate that this is going to be part of the discourse, there will be those fucking assholes who go, yep, see, women can't direct horror, yuck, yuck. Like, you're gonna hear that bullshit. And I hate that I'm somewhat lending to that line of reasoning by saying that I don't enjoy this film. It's not because it's a female director, it's because of the script, and because I don't think this movie understood how to say what it wanted to say without being incredibly convoluted, and that in itself really sucks. So I've been going back and forth with my grade. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be a little nice because of Florence Pugh, and like I said, she's amazing in this movie, and she really is carrying this movie, like through sheer grit and will. She's elevating this movie when the script, I think at points, really does fail her. And Chris Pine, I'm going to give the movie credit for those two things, but outside of that, I think the messages that the themes is trying to go ahead and convey definitely get lost in a shuffle. It definitely gets lost in the style aspect over substance. The style is really, the script is really sacrificed at points by the stylistic nature of the film. And even when the film was finalized, when it was done, when the finale had finished, I didn't feel a sense of finality for the film because I had so many questions that I went, you're not even giving me breadcrumbs to answer how this thing works, or why this occurred. And it's really frustrating. So I'm going to give this a C-, and I think I'm being too nice, but I don't want to just shit on Florence Pugh and Chris Pine's performances because they are great performances. But goddamn, this is so frustrating for me because I wanted to dig on this and I can't. It's, C-. I'm bummed. I'm honestly bummed. I saw 2 movies tonight and I really wanted this to be, I saw this one last because this was the one I was looking forward to the most. So I was like, all right, let's go. Fucking Don't Worry, Darling. And it just made me roll my eyes at points in that last third. And I'll never watch this again. And I feel bad. I really feel bad, and it makes a lot more sense that Florence Pugh is not doing press for this, because I'm sure she's already moved on. She's like, yep, cool, on to the next project, on to, Thunderbolts or Dune Part 2. I think she's filming Dune Part 2 right now, actually. Dune Part 2 will be better than this shit, so, good for her, but I'm sad. I'm really sad because I wanted this to be something not just for women to go ahead and enjoy, but I really wanted to dig this because the trailers I thought were interesting and I was intrigued and I was kind of getting Hitchcockian vibes from it, and it fumbles the bag in the last third so badly that I can't recommend that anyone run out to a theater to see this. I'd wait until digital. If you really need to watch this, wait until it comes out on digital. You don't need to rush out to a theater to see this. Go see Confess Fletch if you want to go see something that will make you laugh, or if you want to see something scary. Pearl is out. Go see Pearl. Pearl is great from what I hear. All my horror friends say Pearl is the shit. So go watch that. But yeah, this shit, I can't recommend anyone to go see this. And I'm so sad. I'm so down this movie because I was so excited for this. But yeah, C-. Oh yeah, go see Barbarian too. I've heard that's great too. Yeah, go see those. Don't see this shit. But Don't Worry, Darling. Have you seen it? What'd you think of it? Let us know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Most places you listen to podcasts. Samsung Podcasts. You can find us there. Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, to name a few places. You can follow yours truly on Letterboxd at Black Shazam, and you can like both our pages on Facebook at The Real Pineapple and Real Pineapple Games. And what else? You can find me on TikTok at Black Shazam as well. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. We're gonna have reviews up for that new Tyler Perry movie. I think it's called Jasmine's Noose. I don't know, whatever it's called. That the new Tyler Perry movie that I'm not excited to watch. That one. So I'll review up for that here soon. We're gonna be starting the Real Spooky series here coming up in the next couple weeks for Halloween. So I'm gonna have reviews up for House of a Clock in Its Walls, all the Scream films. What else? X. I need to watch. I'm actually gonna watch that probably this weekend, as well as Orphan First Kill and some other Halloween stuff. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support. Stay safe out there. Take care of each other. Wear your mask. Get your booster if you haven't gotten that yet. Stay safe, everyone. Tell someone you love them today. We all need to hear that more. But thanks again, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.